The Ringing Cedars of Russia by Vladimir Megre. Book 1, Anastasia. Chapter 1, The Ringing Cedar. In the spring of 1994, I chartered 3 riverboats on which I carried out a 3-month expedition on the River Ob in Siberia, from Novosibirsk to Selek-Daghat and back. The aim of the expedition was to foster economic ties with the regions of the Russian far north. The expedition went under the name of the Merchant Convoy. The largest of the 3 riverboats was a passenger ship named the Patrice Lumumba. Western Siberian riverboats bear rather interesting names: the Maria Ulyanova, the Patrice Lumumba, the Mikhail Kalinin, as if there were no other personages in history worth commemorating. The lead ship, Patrice Lumumba, housed the expedition headquarters, along with a store where local Siberian entrepreneurs could exhibit their wares. The plan was for the convoy to travel north 3,500 kilometers, visiting not only major ports of call such as Tomsk, Nizhnevartovsk, Khanty-Mansisk, and Salekhat, but smaller places as well, where goods could be unloaded during a brief summer navigation season. The convoy would dock at a populated settlement during the daytime. We would offer the wares we had bought for sale and hold talks about setting up regular economic links. Our travelling was usually done at night. If weather conditions were unfavourable for navigation, the lead ship would put into the nearest port, and we would organise on-board parties for the local young people. Most places offered little in the way of their own entertainment. Clubs and community centres, so-called houses of culture, had been going downhill ever since the collapse of the USSR, and there were almost no cultural activities available. Sometimes we might go for 24 hours or more without seeing a single populated place, even the tiniest village. From the river, the only transportation artery for many kilometres around, the only thing visible to the eye was the taiga itself. I was not yet aware at the time that somewhere amidst the uninhabited vastness of forest along the riverbank, a surprise meeting was awaiting me, one that was to change my whole life. One day on our way back to Novosibirsk, I arranged to dock the lead ship at a small village, one with only a few houses at best, some 30 or 40 kilometers distance from the larger population centers. I planned a 3-hour stopover so the crew could have shore leave and the local residents could buy some of our goods and foodstuffs, and we could cheaply pick up from them fish and wild growing plants of the taiga. During our stopover time, as the leader of the expedition, I was approached by 2 of the local senior citizens, as I judged at the time. One of them appeared to be somewhat older than the other. The elder of the 2, a wizened fellow with a long grey beard, kept silent the whole time, leaving his younger companion to do the talking. This fellow tried to persuade me to lend him 50 of my crew, which numbered no more than 65 in total, to go with them into the taiga, about 25 kilometers or so from the dock where the ship was berthed. They would be taken into the depths of the taiga to cut down a tree he described as a ringing cedar. The cedar, which he said reached 40 meters in height, needed to be cut up into pieces which could be carried by hand to the ship. We must, he said, definitely take the whole lot. The old fellow further recommended that each piece be cut up into smaller pieces. Each of us should keep one for himself and give the rest to relatives, friends, and anyone who wished to accept a piece as a gift. He said this was a most unusual cedar. The piece should be worn on one's chest as a pendant. Hang it around your neck while standing barefoot in the grass, and then press it to your chest with the palm of your left hand. It takes only a moment to feel the pleasing warmth emanating from the piece of cedar, followed by a light tingling sensation running through the whole body. From time to time, whenever desired, the side of the pendant facing away from the body should be rubbed with one's fingers, the thumbs pressed against the other side. The old fellow confidently assured me that within 3 months, the possessor of one of these ringing cedar pendants will feel significant improvement in his sense of well-being and will be cured of many diseases. Even AIDS, I asked, and briefly explained that I had learned about this disease from the press. The oldster confidently replied, "From any and all diseases." But this, he considered, was an easy task. The main benefit was that anyone having one of these pendants would become kinder, more successful, and more talented. I did know a little about the healing properties of the cedars of our Siberian taiga, but the suggestion that it could affect one's feelings and abilities, well, that to me seemed beyond the bounds of probability. The thought came to me that maybe these old men wanted money from me for this unusual cedar, as they themselves called it. And I began explaining that out in the big wide world, women were used to wearing jewellery made of gold and silver and wouldn't pay a dime for a scrap of wood. And so I wasn't going to lay out any money for anything like that. "They don't know what they're wearing," came the reply. "Gold, well, that's dust in comparison with one piece of this cedar. But we don't need any money for it. We can give you some dried mushrooms in addition, but there's nothing we need from you." Not wanting to start an argument, out of respect for their age, I said, "Well, maybe someone will wear some of your cedar pendants. They certainly would if a top wood-carving craftsman agreed to put his hand to it and create something of amazing beauty." To which the old fellow replied, "Yes, you could carve it, but it would be better to polish it by rubbing. It would be a lot better if you do this yourself with your fingers whenever your heart desires. Then the cedar will have all the beautiful look to it." Then the younger of the two quickly unbuttoned first his old worn jacket and then his shirt and revealed what he was wearing on his chest. I looked and saw a puffed-out circle or oval. It was multicoloured, purple, raspberry, auburn, forming some kind of puzzling design. The vein lines on the wood looked like little streams. I am not a connoisseur of objets d'art, although from time to time I have had occasion to visit picture galleries. The world's great masters had not called forth any particular emotions in me, but the object hanging around this man's neck aroused significantly greater feelings and emotions than any of my visits to the Tretyakov Gallery. "How many years have you been rubbing this piece of cedar?" I asked. 93, the old fellow responded. "And how old are you?" 119. At the time I didn't believe him. He looked like a man of 75. Either he hadn't noticed my doubts, or if he had, he paid no attention to them. In somewhat excited tones, he started in trying to persuade me that any piece of this cedar, polished by human fingers alone, would also look beautiful in just 3 years. Then it would start looking even better and better, especially when worn by a woman. The body of its wearer would give off a pleasant and beneficial aroma, quite unlike anything artificially produced by man. Indeed, a very pleasant fragrance was emanating from both these old men. I could feel it, even though I'm a smoker and, like all smokers, have a dulled sense of smell. And there was one other peculiarity. I suddenly became aware of phrases in the speech of these strangers that were not common to the residents of this isolated part of the north. Some of them I remember to this day, even the intonations associated with them. Here is what the old fellow told me. God created the cedar to store cosmic energy. When someone is in a state of love, they emit a radiant energy. It takes but a second for it to reflect off the celestial bodies floating overhead and come back to earth and give life to everything that breathes. The sun is one of those celestial bodies, and it reflects but a tiny fraction of such radiance. Only bright rays can travel into space from man on the earth, and only beneficial rays can be reflected from space back to earth. Under the influence of malicious feelings, man can emit only dark rays. These dark rays cannot rise but must fall into the depths of the earth. Bouncing off its core, they return to the surface in the form of volcanic eruptions, earthquake, wars, etc. The culminating achievement of these dark rays is their direct effect on the man originating them, invariably exasperating this man's own malicious feelings. Cedars live to be 550 years old. Day and night, their millions of needles catch and store the whole spectrum of light energy. bright light energy. During the period of the cedar's life, all the celestial bodies pass over them, reflecting this bright energy. Even in one tiny piece of cedar, there is more energy beneficial to man than in all the man-made energy installations taken together. Cedars receive the energy emanating from man through space, store it up, and at the right moment give it back. They give it back when there is not enough of it in space. In other words, in man, or in everything living and growing on the earth. Occasionally, though very rarely, one discovers cedars that have been storing up energy but not giving back what they have stored. After 500 years of their life, they start to ring. This is how they talk to us, through their quiet ringing sound. This is how they signal people to take them and soar them up to make use of their stored up energy on the earth. This is what the cedars are asking with their ringing sound. They keep on asking for 3 whole years. If they don't have contact with living human beings, then in 3 years, deprived of the opportunity to give back what they have received and stored from space, they lose their ability to give it back directly to man. Then they will start burning up the energy internally. This torturous process of burning and dying lasts 27 years. Not long ago, we discovered a cedar like this. We determined that it had been ringing for 2 years already. It was ringing very softly. Perhaps it is trying to draw out its request over a longer period of time, but still it has only 1 year left. It must be sawed up and given away to people.